to the latest episode of the Shell Report, your weekly show through the 2025 season, diving into Maryland football. I'm Ahmed Gafir, back again with John Googs and Ben Strober. And fellas, it is officially that time. Maryland has officially wrapped up non-conference play, a perfect 3-0 with a win over Towson this past weekend. And now they prepare for not just their first road test of the season, but the Big Ten opener. But I think before we dive too much into the start of Big Ten play, obviously with 3 weeks down, chance for a lot of this new team, a lot of inexperienced team to kind of gel together. I think it'd be good to just kind of go over what went right, maybe in one concern through for Maryland football so far. But we'll start with the positives. So, Ben, what's maybe your biggest takeaway from these first 3 weeks?
I think what I've seen so far is that the pass rush is vastly improved. I think that's going to be a strength of theirs come conference play. And always take things with a grain of salt when you're playing in non-conference because things might always not be as they seem. But I really like the work they've been able to get out of these guys on the defensive line coming off the edge as well. They've allowed themselves to get into opportunities where these edge rushers, whether it's Zahir Mathis or Sidney Stewart, the freshman, who's just taken everything by storm at this point, when you get them in third and long situations and you let these guys pin their ears back and just go after the quarterback, that's where they can be really effective. So from what I've seen so far, if they're able to get guys into third and long situations, i.e. Wisconsin on Saturday, that's where they're going to be very successful. It's up to everyone else defensively to set those kind of situations up to be good enough on first and second down. But I think the defensive line right now in terms of playing the pass and rushing the quarterback is a real strength of this team, and I think that's going to be beneficial to them, especially here heading into conference play.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Googs, what you got?
Secondary looks vastly improved from the last year. Already through 3 games, they have 10 interceptions and 10 pass breakups, and they're allowing less than 200 yards per game. If you told me that was going to happen after what we saw last year, I would have absolutely taken it. So I would love to see them continue their success heading up into conference play.
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty good point. And I think, both of those, you kind of put them in tandem. I think the secondary is benefiting from this Maryland pass rush, really really finding its groove. Obviously the freshman duo, Sidney Stewart, Zahir Mathis, both those guys, really dazzling through these first couple of weeks of the season. Sidney Stewart leading the Big Ten so far in sacks right now. For me, I would say, and I think, even though we've seen just bits and pieces, we haven't seen the full product just yet. But I think Malik Washington is as advertised. Jake Butt, BTN analyst, just earlier this week, when he was talking about the matchup, the first thing he said was, Bryce Underwood is the guy that's getting a lot of national headlines, and Malik Washington's probably the one that's not getting enough headlines. And I personally, I think the headlines, all of that, the accolades, it'll come with time. But I think through these 3 weeks, he's largely shown that he has a different sense of poise and maturity and calmness when he runs this offense. And again, I feel like that, especially against Northern Illinois, Maryland came out with the intention of being able to establish a run, and everyone knows what the passing attack can do at this point. And I think Malik Washington has been able to show, even in some of these throws, just his vision, his ball placement, even whether it's in his intermediate or deep balls. So I think he's showing that he can really take full command of this offense. I think that and frankly, he looked exactly like he did at Spalding, where he has that pocket presence. I think he was Mike Loxley was asked earlier this week during a press conference, can Malik Washington, can he run? Yeah, he can. And we saw it at Spalding too, but that wasn't always, his bread and butter. His bread and butter was to really make beat opponents in the pocket, and I think he's really shown that so far. It'll be interesting to see, obviously going on the road this weekend against this Badgers front seven, confident Badgers front seven, but I think Malik Washington has a chance to really build steady confidence going into this Big Ten opener here.
I think one thing that's stuck out to me that you brought up with Washington that's so key is the maturity. And Mike Loxley today, he was on the Sports Junkies doing his weekly hit, and he compared Malik Washington to Jalen Hurts in terms of maturity and mental fortitude that those two have. And you can kind of see the parallels there, the way those two kind of have approached the game. And Malik Washington, he also has a swagger to him that we just haven't quite seen from a Maryland quarterback. in quite some time. Just the arm talent alone is pretty eye popping to me because the way he's able to get some zip on his football and throw a really good deep ball, that's what impressed me the most about the game against Towson. Albeit you are playing Towson, you're expected to beat them by a lot every time you play them. Just the way he was placing each and every deep ball that he put out there, going one of those to Shalik Knotts and a couple other deep balls throughout the game, it just looks really good. It looks crisp, and it looks like how it's supposed to look when you get into Big Ten play. So is that going to be something that's sustainable? We'll have to see if protection holds up for him. But in terms of arm talent, I think it's all there for him. I think mentally he's there as well. So I don't expect to see too big of any hiccups if he does come in the Big Ten here.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I think that's probably a good transition into maybe the biggest question mark through these 3 weeks, and I think the offensive line is still a bit of a question mark, and that's still keeping in mind that through these first 3 games, this unit's only allowed 1 sack, and I think through these first 3 weeks, especially good fall camp, a lot of these pieces trying to gel together, get the finished product going. So these 3 weeks were a chance to kind of build confidence against lower level competition. Rachel Perry, he hasn't allowed a pressure so far in his first 3 games, but he's preparing for his first Power Four matchup. Michael Hershey, this will be his first time really commanding the offensive line first full time. The right side of the line, I think Alan Huron, if he's shown signs of steady development there, and Isaiah Wright, I think both those guys are kind of the anchors of that unit right now. Lou Ba, he drew. He was one of 3 or 4 players, or 3 players on offense, 4 players total from the Terps who were named to the PFF Team of the Week following the season debut win over FAU. So I think there had been signs of improvement, but how do they fare against this Wisconsin front? Mike Loxley's been transparent that Maryland is going to face, especially with the young quarterback, when the inability to run the ball consistently so far. Maryland's going to face a lot of stacked boxes, and I think it'll be kind of interesting to see how this protection holds up. Also, the running back, how they hold up in pass protection as well. I think Nolan Ray, he can he can be an asset in the passing game. I think Dewan Williams is a guy who can kind of help in pass protection. Eli Mason was a guy that's previously been credited as well, but I think how this offensive line fares is still a little bit wait and see mode right now. But I think this Wisconsin front is a heck of a challenge for them.
The one thing that I maybe, see some not concerns with, but one question mark I have, and I know we've highlighted the secondary because of the 10 interceptions, 10 pass breakups, and allowing under 200 yards per game. I just really need to see them face a QB that is going to challenge them vertically. And I don't know if this week will even necessarily be the week that we see that, because among those 10 interceptions, if we're going to be honest here, all 3 of us probably could have made some of them. And I'm not trying to discredit what the transfers have brought to the table. Dante Joyner, Jamari Glasgow, those guys have looked really, really good. Are they going to be able to hold up when they get into Big Ten play is still the biggest question for me. On paper right now, and the way they've played, they've passed the eye test so far. Just need to see it against some of these other guys before I'm ready to really say, okay, this secondary has made a major leap. I think they'll be better overall than they were last year for sure. I'm not really worried about that. We'll just see how much better it is.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. And I don't know. I don't like my odds of getting gunned down on that 100-yard return by like High Roland. So I'll give him the nod. But no,
I'll
I
definitely
definitely
give
agree.
him that one.
Googs, what you got, man, for biggest concern through these 3 weeks?
For me, it's still the run defense. They showed promise against NIU, but once it got down into that late third quarter and fourth quarter, NIU started to run at will, basically. I want to see the run defense be able to stop a team for a full 60 minutes and not just 30, 45 minutes of the game. Because you're going into Madison. Yes, they're not the same Wisconsin, but they're still going to want to run the ball. And then you have teams further down the line that are going to run the ball with stout running backs as well. If you can stop a team running from running the ball for a full 60, you're going to win at least 50% of your Big Ten games.
Yeah, I think that is completely fair, and I think that speaking of winning Big Ten games, I think that's a great transition into the Big Ten opener. Game info: noon kickoff Eastern time on NBC this Saturday. Maryland will be looking for their first win in 5 tries against Wisconsin. Enter Saturday 0-3 in Madison. This will be the first meeting since 2022. Only the second time that Mike Locksley has faced the Badgers as the permanent head coach. For Maryland, this will be a game one in hopes of getting over 500 in conference play for the first time under Locksley, and they'll face a Badger team coming off a 38-14 loss at Alabama, picked up wins over Miami, Ohio, Middle Tennessee to open the season. And I think obviously the biggest storyline is, Billy Edwards, what can he do? What's his status? And seems like, there's growing available or growing optimism that, he could be available. Danny O'Neill was talking with reporters on Tuesday saying that, Billy Edwards was taking increased reps. So seems likely that he will play. Initial reports were pointing to that Week 3 matchup against Alabama as the potential return date. So I think the chance to maybe get closer to 100% play against his former team, I think was maybe in the back of his mind there. But nonetheless, they will face this Badgers team. Guys, what's your feel for this one going into Saturday?
As good as you can feel about this team right now, and I've liked a lot of the things I've seen so far, I'm not quite ready to pick Maryland to win a game like this on the road at Camp Randall. I was there on the call a couple years back when Maryland played. It was, albeit it was pretty much snowing that day, 30-mile-an-hour wind blowing sideways. So the Terps were not really favored very well to win that game. And the one reason was because they were unable to establish a ground game. So that's a really tough place to play, first of all. It's loud in there. It's going to be raucous no matter what the situation is. It's not the same Wisconsin, but if we look back, it wasn't the same Wisconsin even in 2022. They had an interim head coach in that game. So Wisconsin's just one of those teams you can never really overlook, even though they lost 38-14 to Alabama last week. I don't think you can overlook that whatsoever. And now that the offensive line's still a little bit inexperienced, we're going to see how they fare against Power 4 competition for the first time, and some of the things that you mentioned, Ahmed, throughout the first couple segments there. We'll see if those guys are able to give Malik enough time and protection. I'm just a little bit worried they're going to be out of sync offensively at times. I don't think it's going to be pretty in terms of the game overall. It might be pretty ugly in terms of offensive performances, but if Maryland's unable to get a ground game going, I think that ultimately would be the demise for them, because I think there's always so much they can accomplish through the air with Malik Washington and the talent they have on the outside. Because if they're unable to establish a ground game, it's going to make it far too easy for Wisconsin to get that lethal pass rush going and really disrupt this game. So as it stands right now, if Maryland can't establish the ground game, I would see Wisconsin winning it by a score of 26-19. But I'd love to be proven wrong, and this seems like a really good opportunity for maybe a lot of Maryland fans to be proven wrong in this kind of situation.
For me, what I want the team to do this weekend is simply just build off the success of the run game. You finally had some success against Towson. All right, you had 98 yards in the first half, and then obviously Towson started to load the box in the second half because they knew that's all we were going to do. But if you can build off of that success, O-line has confidence, running backs have confidence. Use Malik a lot more. He has the legs to do it. Yes, he's still probably somewhat healing off of the knee injury he had before camp. But if you can use him a lot more, it'll even help out the running backs a lot more, and it'll take a lot of pressure off of Malik in that passing game. And I think I'll say I am confident enough for the Terps to pull it off this week with a last-second Sean O'Hare field goal. Give me 31-30.
Well, I think gone back and forth on this slot. I will say I think I noticed that the spread jumped to +10 Maryland, and I liked Maryland with the points on that. No, that wasn't the question, but I think really all week it's kind of been solidified that I do think this is going to be a close game. I think the week 2 matchup against Northern Illinois when Maryland faced, I believe it was 48 rushing attempts, allowed 3 runs over 10 yards. And one of those was obviously a 74-yard touchdown run. I think that was kind of a good test for this game. Ben, you mentioned it. I'm not sure that Wisconsin, even with Billy Edwards, that Maryland, that they have that vertical threat on an every down basis. And I think that it's going to be the ground game. Dylan Jones, good counter product. Top target back in the 2024 class alongside Elijah Moore, Aaron Childs, loaded class. For Judah Jenkins ended up signing with Maryland in that cycle as well. But he'll be one of those guys leading the rushing attack. And he mentioned, he got a ball out against your hometown team. So think that he'll kind of be energized. He'll have his own motivations as well, just like Billy Edwards, to kind of show out against Maryland. But I think that Wisconsin's kind of shown that they can do that. Now the offensive line for the Badgers, they. Yeah, I think it will be kind of interesting to see. Jake Renfro. Sounds like he's he went out with in the week 3 loss with an injury. He was able to come back. Sounds like he's still battling some injuries leading into kickoff. So even with his availability, not 100%. So I guess how that Badgers run game looks. But for Maryland, I think it's going to be, replicating what they did in week 2, figuring out ways to stop the run, making Wisconsin beat you through the air. That I like the athleticism that Maryland's added, and I think Braden Lee, Lakai Rowland, Kerm Humes in the slot, with the Jaden Ships right behind them. Both those guys have looked good, but I think Maryland that front seven will need to do it. I've gone back and forth, and I don't even have a final score in the outline. So this is pure feel. But I will say 20-17 Maryland. I think that they do figure out a way to pull this out. I do feel like a homer saying this because Maryland historically, they have struggled to win these games on the road. But I think that this Maryland team, Malik Washington, we talked about it earlier. He brings a certain poise to him in the pocket there that I think he can stabilize this offense. Getting going early, and I think figuring out some rhythm early on, like you mentioned earlier, Ben. I think that's a big key. But I think that this upgraded defense and Malik Washington commanding the offense, I think are the difference in this one. But before we go into that, we'll dive into our catalyst of the game, which is brought to you by Catalyst Hot Dog. Catalyst brought the Jersey dog to the DMV, featuring premium dry-aged Black Angus all-beef hot dogs made in Maryland, served with handmade toppings including hot onions, relish, and their signature Texas chili sauce. And don't miss their original garlic knot dogs. Catalyst always offers vegan dogs as well as gluten-free buns because Catalyst has food for everyone. Make sure you find them in CQ Stadium in Section 14 and the Xfinity Center in Section 210. And make sure to tell the people a hot dog is a sandwich. So with score predictions locked in, let's dive into our catalyst of the games. Ben, what do you got for the Saturday?
Get the ball going on the ground. Just get things rolling as much as you can offensively. I think you want to be able to control time of possession in this game and force yourself into third and short situations because you don't want to give the opportunity for Wisconsin to get in very obvious pass rushing situations. With the inexperience of Maryland's offensive line and how good we think the front seven of Wisconsin can be, that'll make it a lot more difficult to beat them vertically if you're facing third and long situations. If you're able to, effectively pick up 5 or 6 yards on first down, set yourself up on second and short, that's when I think you can attack through the air with Malik Washington. That's going to make it that much easier on him. The weapons that surround him on the outside, any of the really receiving talent that Maryland has right here. It's going to be a lot easier for them in those type of situations and just control time of possession because even though we don't know as much about Wisconsin offensively, how they're going to fare, how they're going to challenge this Maryland defense, if you're able to, waste as much time as possible offensively, get some points on the board, that'll make it a lot more difficult for, in turn, Wisconsin to try to establish a ground game on the other side. Maybe you get ahead early on and they're trying to play catch up. You make them throw the ball a lot more than they would like to.
Yeah, my catalyst to the game ties into that. It's going to be getting Wisconsin into second and long and third and long. If you can get Wisconsin off balance and make them have to sling the rock around, yes, Billy can do it, but if we're being honest, he's not a guy that can pressure defense deep. He rarely did that at all last year. And with the injury, you don't know how fully confident he's going to be going into the game. So if you can get Wisconsin into the third and long and make them have to throw the ball around, I think that is going to be massive for the defense and to help the Terps win the game.
I think that's a valid pick. My pick is get the ball to Dorian Fleming. I think he wasn't a guy that we have talked about much, and I was actually surprised at one point last week that he hadn't had a target. But I think even spring game, spring practice, fall camp, it's been consistent that when he gets going, he is a playmaker for this offense. You can tell that the chemistry that both he and Malik Washington have with each other. Obviously, that week two touchdown on fourth down, when he and Octavian Smith crossed routes, those are small things that get corrected. But in terms of being able to make plays over the middle, I think that Dorian Fleming is kind of that guy where you need to get him activated. Multi-catch game. I personally believe that he'll end up leading Maryland in receptions for this game. I think that he's just a dynamic playmaker that really kind of opens this passing attack for Maryland. And I'm not sure that Wisconsin really has the guys that can cover him in space. And I think that he really just presents some mismatch problems. And I think that's a little bit cliche for the tight end position, especially a dynamic receiving threat like that. But I think that's really what Fleming is, and I think he's I believe it's the first tight end to record touchdowns in each of his first two games as a Terp since Chigo Conquo. And he's probably the most dominant tight end that Maryland's had since Chigo Conquo, where he kind of has that potential. So I think that well, obviously get the ground game going and figure that out. But I think this is a game where you can really lean on Dorian Fleming, get that going, and like I said, I think Malik Washington has the poise, has the confidence to settle down, and Fleming I think will be a big part of that. But we shall see. Maryland will look to kick off this weekend, head to the bye week. So that will do it for the latest episode of the Shell Report. Make sure you stay locked in over at InsideTheBlackandGold.net for all your Maryland news with Big Ten football officially here. Basketball season around the corner and recruiting picking up speed.